Good morning. I'd like to call to order the Lower Stafford Township Board of Supervisors work session of January 21, 2026. Ask everyone to join me in the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. That brings us to our public comment agenda item. Is there anyone wishing to be recognized? Name and address for the record, please.
Heather Dashman, 391 Barclay Circle, Harleysville, Maine. Is this the point where you would like the comments, or would you like the comments when they are pertinent?
We could do it either way. Most often these are public comment items, typically that aren't on the agenda. When we get to an agenda item, if you have comments, we'll certainly recognize you then as well.
Okay. They're agenda related.
Okay, that's fine. Sounds good. Yes, ma'am.
I'm Lori Yamashita, 470 Wexford Circle.
Morning, Lori.
Good morning.
All right, seeing no one else, we'll move on. I'll take a motion to approve the work session meeting minutes of December 17th, 2025 and or December 30, 2025 as opposed. I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. Motion carries. Public Works Director, Mr. Jones.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you. Update on some projects. The Birdie Mill Road Bridge is opened. Still have not received a response to my emails regarding the icing concern and the location of the inlet and the drainage. So still waiting on that for some response from the county. I don't know what our next step might be.
My recommendation would be just to document it well, given the frequency of storms, so that when in August we're discussing this, we'll have some reference.
Understood.
Yeah, I was just going to say, also, I drove out past there a day or two after the detour was removed. And after your email, I saw exactly what you were saying with the draining and the icing. I appreciate your communicating that with them. I mean, I guess their decision was to remove the detour and reopen the bridge. That was their decision, but I thank you for your follow-up on that.
You're welcome. I've also received calls from the property owner that's immediately across from the park. Regarding some concerns they have with their driveway, speed of traffic, the visibility of getting out of their driveway. So I haven't had an opportunity to look at that closely, but I'll be doing that and trying to communicate to it that if there are concerns, legitimate concerns, communicate those to the county as well. The Public Works Department removed a portion of the outcropping on the western side of the bridge, so we spent about 3 days just hammering at rock. But I think it was a worthwhile improvement. It gained us probably 3 to 4 feet of clear zone from the edge of from the white line. So I think that's something that was worthwhile doing, and I think it's made a safer condition on that side of the bridge. We've installed some fencing and sign on the scenic overlook trail. Had a reoccurring problem with vehicles traveling up the trail. Don't ask me why, but they do. So we're trying to prevent that. So every time it happens, I get pictures and an email from the property or the adjacent property owner. So that should be taken care of at this point. The Main Street sidewalk, PICO has started the directional drilling for their new service line. This is for the Weaver Reckner property. Unfortunately, it got delayed by the weather. They're hoping to continue next week, and then to do the transfer of service over on the weekend of January 31st. Again, all of it's weather dependent. PICO is also working on some electrical upgrades on Pioneer Circle, installing new trenching and conduit. This project was supposed to be a trenchless project, but they hit rock, so they had to do open excavation. Expect to be completed by the end of this week and the trenches restored, so we don't have any issues with plowing. And they've agreed to do a full width mill and overlay on all the affected areas of the roadway, since that road was resurfaced 2 years ago. Our new public works facility, we're still looking at building layout and site layout, just trying to make sure that everything's conducive with the site. We're also taking a look at some other public works facilities, see if we can get ideas as to how to best move forward with that. Today we are having our MS4 routine inspection. This is a DEP inspection. The MS4 is our municipal separate storm sewer system. It's a permit that's issued to the township by DEP for the management of stormwater in the township. So this is something that it's a first for us as far as I'm aware of, routine inspection. It's our understanding it's primarily an administrative inspection. They want to look at our website, they want to look at our reports, make sure that all the information that we need to is being pushed out to the public as far as an education and awareness standpoint. The processes that we have in place for reporting any issues with stormwater, any violations, any illicit discharges, those kinds of things are all in place. And then they're also going to do an inspection of the public works facility as part of the good housekeeping control measure that's part of the program. Department activities, winter operations, this winter has been a pain. It's all weekend storms and they're mostly nuisance events. So they tend to drain our salt supply. And there are some concerns with supply chain for salt at this point. So we're working on some other avenues. We're looking at adding calcium to our salt to especially with the lower temperatures that they're going for this weekend. That should help with melting. It just kind of gives the salt an extra kick. We're also looking into adding anti-skid, just if we do happen to run short. So we're making sure that we have all our bases covered and try to make sure that we're capable and ready for anything that might happen to us. So last couple of weeks we've done a lot of tree work. Sign work continues on all the roads that were resurfaced last year, just as part of our upgrade program to replace all the signs. Trying to get some other storm pipe work done, but Mother Nature's not very cooperative this year. So that's all that I have. I'm going to turn it over to Stephanie for a couple of issues that she wants to discuss.
Thanks, Doug. First item on my list this morning is an update on the always stop evaluations that we've completed. So we issued a draft report memo for each of the intersections. Morris Road and Upper Mainland Road, as I think we all understand, is warranted under the crash history alone, not the volume data. Site distance is acceptable in all directions. So really short summary here. At this point, since the stop signs have been installed now for a couple months, 2 or 3 months at this point, it is recommended that the flashing red lights can be removed. Those are placed for 30 days when you change that condition. So at this point, the signs can all stay in place. The document can be issued as a final document unless there's any questions or concerns. The red lights can be removed, and then we would move forward with the ordinance update to include this intersection as an always stop. Not a lot of not a lot of specifics to discuss at this location, but I will take any questions from anyone.
How's the crash data look now?
I don't have that report since the stop signs have been in place, but certainly something we can look at afterwards. I would think police chief may have that information. Do you have any updates on what crashes have occurred?
There's been 0 crashes since the 4-way stoppage.
Excellent. Excellent. Great. So if there's no other questions on that, I can issue that as a final and then coordinate with Joe and Andy regarding the ordinance update. Okay. Next one is the always stop at Oak Drive and Moyer Road. So we did complete the traffic counts. We reviewed the traffic analysis. Real short here, it is warranted based on the crash history alone, not the volume data. Sight distance is acceptable on all approaches. The left turn lanes that exist out there today are not warranted, and single lane approaches would operate at a level of service C or better for overall as well as for each movement. So we do recommend removing the left turn lanes. Um, and I'll discuss that in a moment. We did do the synchro analysis, and the maximum 95th percentile cues are 110 and 115. 115 in the westbound direction in the peak hour, so there's no concerns with any queuing backing up to Main Street when the heavy volumes are making those lefts from Main Street onto Oak Drive. So as far as removing the left turn lane, I did speak with Doug about this last week. Couple options in the interim. We can just simply stripe out the left turn with transverse markings, which would keep the through lanes in their current location, which I think would be the recommendation at this point in time. And then down the road, once the overlay is needed on Oak Drive, which Doug, I think you said might be a couple years from now, we could look at restriping the condition so that the through lanes are, a single double yellow line with the through lanes and then a 4 to 5 foot shoulder. We don't recommend doing that now because of the eradication and the ghost lines that would be created for a substantial length approaching the intersection in both directions. And then the other item to consider is we're working through obviously the Oak Drive right turn lane widening bid package and plans. Unless an overlay was incorporated into that, I think that the striping works with what we've proposed with the right turn lane widening. So I guess that could be something, Doug, we could talk about whether or not we would want to include potentially the overlay in that project and see where that would fall.
That's the right-hand turn lane from Oakland to Main.
No,
We're extending the right turn lane on Oak Drive today is very short. So that right turn lane is being extended as part of a separate project. And sidewalk is being installed between Main Street to Moyer Road. So that's an individual project that is through design, and we'll be working on the bid package. There's grant funding in place for both the right turn lane extension as well as the sidewalk installation.
So the existing right turn lane will be extended
Gotcha.
Yes,
to.
That's beyond Moyer Road on the Main, that right-hand turn lane.
correct. Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
As you approach Main Street.
Yeah.
That right-hand turn.
Thank you. Yeah.
But given this is warranted under the accident data today, I think, in implementing it with the transverse markings across the left turn lane would be the simplest and cleanest solution at this point in time. There are some other recommendations in the letter with regard to the additional signage, placement of stop sign ahead signs, including the red flashing lights, painting of stop bars, so on and so forth. So at this point, I would entertain any questions on the results of that evaluation.
Stephanie, you mentioned operating at level C or better.
Yes. Levels of service for intersection operations go from A to F, A being excellent and no delay, all the way down to F, which is failing. C or better, D or better actually is pretty standard and acceptable levels of service. Once you get into the E's and the F's, you have to look at improvements, I'll say, with that. So C or better is perfectly fine, for this type of always stop intersection.
So that would be a reflection on the anticipated queuing or.
Correct. So it's the amount of delay people will experience as they're going through the intersection. So they have to come up to the intersection. Obviously, there's going to be a 115 foot peak hour queue, so you're slowly moving forward as those cars in front of you go through the intersection. So it's a range of seconds of your delay sitting at the intersection.
Thank you.
4 to 5 cars approximately.
That's kind of like Oak or
Identical to OK.
oak and maple.
Right, and the stripping out of the turning lane would be what I would suggest, because there was a fair number of bus turning movements there for the elementary school. So that gives more room for those. That's me speaking just from.
As we were looking at Stephanie, Corey and I were reviewing Stephanie's report and the number of left turns. Going down to the school, and everything we're looking at is, well, that's because of the school, that's because it's just kind of a reminder that you got a lot of kids going through that intersection. So even if it was a gray area, but this seems pretty clear cut.
Is there any additional work that would need to be done on any of the corners of the intersection? I know it's a clearing of just visual. Any blocks to visibility?
No, there are no sight distance issues at that.
No. Site distance was measured on all approaches and it all meets, exceeds actually pretty significantly. The inside corner approach is a little less than the desirable, the 600 feet that we list, but it's still more than the required amount. So there's no changes needed to enhance or improve site distance.
So with that, do we need a motion to approve both those valuations and move forward with the suggested or remedial improvement?
Yes.
So I'll take that motion.
I'll make the motion.
Second. Moved and seconded, and all in favor, say aye. Aye. Nay. Motion carries. Thanks, Steph. Appreciate
Great.
that.
Thank you. I will finalize them, issue them as a non-draft report and coordinate with Joe and Andy.
Sounds good.
Next on my list was to discuss the Monco 2040 grant application and timeline. Can I just ask, is Grace also in the audience today?
Yes.
Okay, great. So Grace and I have been coordinating also with township staff on the Monco 2040 grant application. And really quick for everyone, Monco 2040 is a yearly grant program that opens up at the end of the year, early January, and applications are due March 1st or 2nd. This year, March 2nd being as that is a Monday. And there's a various types of projects that are eligible. We met with township staff to discuss options. And from that meeting, we looked at 3 projects that were then discussed with Montgomery County Planning Commission. So the first one was fiber optic interconnect from the Walmart and Main Street intersection all the way up to the Shelley Road intersection in Upper Salford Township. And I will expand on the details of each project as I go through. We also looked at pedestrian signal upgrades at the necessary intersections within Lower Salford Township. And then we also discussed a previous application that we've submitted for various programs, which is the school zone flashing warning device upgrade at the Indian Valley Middle School. So real quick, the flashing warning device appeared to be an eligible project. It is permitted for that upgrade, and we've been trying to seek funding for that through different programs without success at this point. I will really quick say that the county deems that as not eligible as a project because it's an upgrade to an existing equipment, even though that equipment has structural concerns. So they recommended following up with DCED on the school upgrade grant, which Grace and I looked into. Township's not eligible to be an applicant for that, so that would be coordinating with the school district. And also the minimum is $500,000. So this project alone does not really meet that requirement. So coupling it maybe for the school district would be something to consider, but long story short, it doesn't fit the Monco 2040 grant program. So that one is pushed aside for now. The fiber optic interconnect from Walmart up to Shelley Road is an eligible project per the County Planning Commission, as well as the pedestrian signal upgrades are both eligible. They did indicate the pedestrian signal upgrades would be their most favorable project. So I'm just giving you the background of the what we've heard from them so far, so we can have a discussion about how to move forward. But both projects are eligible. The fiber optic project would be a multi-municipal project because it does extend into Upper Salford Township. So as a result, there's a higher amount that can be awarded for that project. The grant limit for a multi-municipal project is $350,000. A single municipal project is $250,000. So that being said, a real quick summary of that project would be about 1.5 miles of interconnect to add the Shelley Road signal into your adaptive system. So that would require upgrades to this Shelley Road signal equipment. And it would also include about 1.2 miles of interconnect in Lower Salford Township and 0.3 miles in Upper Salford Township. And I'm giving you all of this because you're going to see the breakdown percentage of the cost for each township. I will say that the make-ready attachment permit for PICO is one of the most significant costs for installing interconnect, and of which you would have 1.2 miles of that with the most utility poles within Lower Salford. We did break down the shared percentages based on the project subtotal with the line items that were appropriate for each township. So for example, all the line items associated with the signal upgrade at Shelley Road would all be the Upper Salford portion of the project, as well as a portion of the interconnect, the smaller distance. So in doing so, we have, and don't fall out of your seats, please, but it's not an inexpensive project, but the grand total is roughly $654,000. Seems like a very large number. I understand that, but I do have a breakdown. That would be for construction, engineering, permitting, and inspection. So when you take that total, you take a $350,000 grant award. If you were to get the full amount, that leaves roughly $304,000 to be split as the local match contribution by each township. And when you look at the line items, it turns out that the Upper Salford match is roughly 46%. And the Lower Salford match is roughly 54%. And that's mainly made up of the interconnect and the make-ready permit attachments for the interconnect associated with Lower Salford. So essentially, the Lower Salford match is in the $163,000 range, and the Upper Salford match is in the $141,000 range. So that being said, summary of the fiber optic interconnect project, we would need to have obviously discussions with Upper Salford. If it was going to be submitted as a multi-municipal project, there is a requirement that one of the townships be the lead on the application. I will also say that Montgomery County has indicated that they will only grant a township one project out of this round. You can submit two, but they will grant one. However, if you submit a multi-municipal project as well as an individual township project, the multi one does not go against your one award, if that makes any sense. So if you were to move forward with submitting the fiber optic project as well as the PED signal upgrades, you technically could get both because the multi-municipal one wouldn't count towards an award for you as Lower Salford Township. So just I wanted to make sure that is understood, that it's not a pick one of these necessarily by the county. They would consider both. The pedestrian signal upgrades, we've reviewed all the intersections. Some of them already have this equipment and some do not. So 7 intersections would need updates, primarily adding your audible pedestrian signals, your APS signals. Some of the intersections have those based on when they've come in with a land development. For instance, at Quarry Road, that signal has APS signals. But looking through all of the intersections, there are 7 that have pedestrian movements at them today that would require upgrades. This max grant, like I said, award is $250,000, requires a 20% match. So we are looking at a total project cost of construction, engineering, and inspection at $191,000. So essentially the full construction amount, $156,750 would be your grant request. and $34,000 would make up your match. It's roughly slightly like 21%, but it's cleaner to just break it into construction and then your engineering, permitting, inspection cost because it's essentially the 80-20 breakdown. So that would be again $34,000 match and $156,750 for the grant request. The primary task here is just going to be adding those equipment and getting signal permit modification approvals through PennDOT for each of those intersections. And as I mentioned, applications are due March 2nd. We do need a resolution for the application. If it cannot be done in February, they did say that that could follow after the application deadline. And as I mentioned, multi-municipal requires one municipal lead. And I know Grace we've worked with Grace on Monco 2040 grants in the past. So I know between her and I, we would be able to pull these applications together by that deadline, but we would like to just want to get everybody's thoughts, I guess, on if there's a preference, questions on the projects that were considered, and how you may like to proceed.
So Stephanie, if we were so fortunate to be awarded one or both of these, when would the said $200,000 be needed? Is that something in 2027 or is that something in 2026?
Sure, I can speak about the timeline. So the good thing about Monco 2040 is they operate on a pretty quick timeline when they make their grant announcements. So with the applications due in March, they tend to announce their awards by the end of May at their meetings. So usually by June or July, the grant agreements are distributed for execution and everything's in place and the work can start. Both of these projects, I think the permitting, the signal permitting and the design for the upgrades at Shelley Road, I think it's probably a 6 to 8 month process getting the permits updated and approved through PennDOT. The Pico make ready attachments is probably the item that may take the longest approval time. So that's kind of a rougher range. But I could see this project really being able to go out to both of these projects really going out to bid in 2027. So, whether they or were the second half of 2027, yes, I think 2027 would be a target for needing those funds and rolling into 2028 because it is a reimbursement. So you do have to put the money out of, first and go through with the contractor, pay the contractor, and then seek your reimbursement back from the county for their portion.
Thank you.
I have a couple questions. The fiber optic interconnect to Shelley Road, would that include future connection potential for Morwood and Maine as well as Indian Creek and Maine? Question mark.
You mean, would we be able to tie in if a new signal is placed at those locations, tie into that interconnect? Yes.
Right, if we're going to the trouble to put out the fiber optic on the pole, or we're gonna spool it at the intersection so we can more easily make those connect.
Yes.
That's one, that's good. Just so that's somehow reflected to the contractor notes. And then two, since the project is multi-municipal, is there an opportunity to get other grants that would cover the excess that's not being covered currently, for example, through CMAQ or other funding sources?
The timing might be the most challenging part. CMAQ would be federal dollars and would change your process. I'll say you would have, as crazy as it sounds, we'd have to go through an environmental clearance process.
There's not much environmental up on a pole, but
I understand, but we still have to do we still have to go through the document and get that clearance.
getting the additional funding oftentimes makes it worthwhile. So is that a consideration? Just put that in the back of your mind.
Yes, I think we would have to look through different programs. CMAQ hasn't been advertising quite a while. Haven't heard that it's coming in the immediate, in the near future yet myself, but we can certainly keep an eye open for that. And then some of the programs, we just need to look at what can be used as match dollars. And whether it's an eligible project for match dollars. And if, depending on maybe what some of your other project priorities are with some of those other programs, we would have to, I think, have that detailed discussion.
We have so many, I understand. Any other questions or comments, good stuff? I think we apply for both. That's my take on the matter. I don't see any harm in it. It's not like they're
We're gonna have to
gonna,
reach out to Microsoft and get their thoughts. Yeah.
our friend, Mr. Posey, see what he has to
See
do.
what they had to say.
That would cost money. Yeah, if they decide against it, then we know the answer to that question. That's good. Any action needed for that? No, at this point, okay. Very good. Anything else for, thank you, Stephanie.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Works.
Doug, just as we approach, anything other than, we have the storm, anything else that township residents can do to help your efforts, like get their cars off the road?
Yeah, we're working on trying to put some information out about not parking on the street and the snow emergency routes and just trying to help us help them. Kind of message, especially if we get, a significant amount of snow with the 8 inches that we had over the weekend. That,
You have less space to work.
yeah, and the roads narrow quickly. When we're dealing with this much snow.
Gonna be a battle.
Thank you.
Hopefully not, hopefully they're wrong.
Yeah.
We're due for an error in our favor.
That's for sure.
At the very least, there was discussion about adding to the snow emergency list. I mean, we have included all our cul-de-sacs, but we are identifying like Indian Crestway. That would be a good candidate to get onto the list.
And we're looking at, a flyer, and even if we have Public Works go around, just put them on parked cars that are on the streets currently, just as a reminder that
That's a really good idea.
we need your help. It makes everything easier for everybody if the cars aren't there.
Right, might be a minor inconvenience during the
Yeah.
event, but it helps you guys get the job done quick.
And we're looking at, the 2 lots on Gruber Road, the soccer field lot and the baseball lot for the folks that are in the immediate neighborhoods that, it's a challenge. We understand that there's limited space in driveways, but with these frozen conditions, there's no reason you can't park on the lawn.
Yeah, that was my question. If the residents knew where to put the car.
The problem now is that you've already got snow on the ground, so it's not like you're dealing with a blank canvas. So that's a little bit of a challenge, so it's never as easy as you'd like it to be. So, but we're trying to think of different ways to get the word out and to encourage people to help us and. Try not to beat people over the head with the message, but at some point we may have to, and just,
Help us help you.
yeah, exactly, you're not looking to punish people, but. We just need to kind of send a message that, it's what needs to be done in order for us to do our job effectively.
And I'd appreciate if you put my driveway on the snow emergency list.
You have a portable sign?
Thank you for all your efforts.
Yes.
And the crew.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
All right, very good. Moving right along. Chief reporting.
As part of the hiring update, we initiated a hiring process back in November of 25. Applications were open for approximately 2 months, during which time we received 42 applications. We did interview 6 applicants, identified the best of the best who went through an extensive background investigation and successfully passed that background. This applicant is a resident of Lower Southwick Township. He is a 4-year Army veteran, a 10-year veteran of the City of Allentown Police Department, and is currently a police officer, sworn officer with the Souderton School District Police. We did discuss with him the probationary offer. He and the police department are in agreement to start him on February 2nd. And then that would be a swearing in on February 4th, of course, contingent with the approval of the board.
And Frank Gallagher forbade us from hiring him, so that put him a little higher.
Perfect. All right, well, with that, motion and authorize the hire.
I will make the motion.
I'll second.
Moving to second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, say nay, motion carries. Thank you, thunder away, Corey.
Wonderful. Additionally, we have identified a candidate for an internship here. This candidate is a student at Del Val College, Bucks County. She's going to complete a 120-hour internship program, which we are in the process of creating an all-inclusive program for her to kind of get the best experience. Believe that the internship program could potentially assist us with recruiting and everything. So she's actually expected to come in today for the first 4-hour orientation. And I'm going to make sure that she gets to the township side and meets everybody there. And then just to piggyback on the wonderful weather that we've had the past few weekends. This past weekend, we did experience some traffic related issues, which is to be expected. Fortunately, they occurred on the weekend. But as far as numbers were concerned, the officers did handle 6 crashes, and then 5 of them marked as disabled vehicles. Some of those were just a few vehicles stuck on inclines due to the icing conditions. Doug and his crew did a great job as far as getting some things cleared out. Temperatures and things are beyond everybody's control. Understanding that it's Mother Nature's help to get those roads cleared as well. So we're looking forward to the weekend, what that holds. Did work with Joe and got a snow emergency declaration issued on Saturday around 11:30 a.m. That was in effect until 8 p.m. on Sunday. And we'll be working with Joe, with Doug again to see what we're going to be doing this weekend once we get a better idea of what it brings.
Thanks for the update. Yeah, very good. Any other questions or comments for Corey? Very good, moving right along. Mr. Buki, Building and Zoning.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So far this month, we have 34 permits that have been issued. We do not have a zoning hearing board meeting coming. I'll keep this short because I do have a project on the agenda this morning. What I'd like to do is at this time of year, I'd like to do the year in review just real briefly for 2025. The new dwelling permits that were issued are the number is 30, so 30 new dwelling units were issued. So that consisted of a new building at the Fields of Jacobs Way, right next to the post office. And then Isabel Court, what are our village homes? Those homes are now constructed. So they included those. The rest of the homes at Briarwood, which is the 931 Riley'sville Pike subdivision there. And then several individual houses. The one that burned down at 262 Shirley, and then the Crestman Road subdivision, the Tuttle subdivision. So those 2 homes were granted, and then the new subdivision at Penn Oak Court that was also issued, and the 8-unit apartment building at Creekside. 41,929 non-residential square footage was added, and that consisted of the big 27,500, I believe, industrial building over there at 130 Christopher, which is currently under construction, and then of course Burger King and Popeyes and Chase and the retail building that are currently being constructed. And 1,696 permit inspections were conducted, and 18 new businesses moved into the township.
Nice.
And the next item I have on the agenda is 488 Harleysville Pike for discussion on the waivers.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Which is odd to say. Yes, I'm Kristen Pianzio from Hamburg, Rubin, Mullen, Maxwell, and Lupin. It's nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Welcome to the new supervisors.
Thank you.
I'm here to talk about Orleans and their application for 488 Harleysville. I have Larry Dugan and Bill Briegel from Orleans. Anand Bhatt, our civil engineer, is is with you. I've been in this room 7 times to talk about this application, but that was with your planning commission. The property is zoned R4. What we're proposing is 26 townhouses. It is permitted. It's been reviewed by the County Planning Commission, who identified it as being consistent with the Indian Valley Regional Comprehensive Plan. We are here with a recommendation of your planning commission for preliminary only. We applied for preliminary and final. They felt suited to only recommend preliminary at this time, so that's why we are here with only that. We did approach the planning commission with the sketch plan. We had 3 meetings with the planning commission with the sketch before we submitted civil engineering plans. And that was because there was a lot of energy from the surrounding neighbors about what was proposed on this property. And we wanted to work with them to come up with something before we went to hard engineering. And then we had 4 meetings with the planning commission with those engineered plans. So 7 meetings. So we're finally here. We spent some time about the road improvements along the frontage. We are along 113, which is a PennDOT road. The traffic impact study and the township engineer aligned with recommending widening along the frontage. There are plans for a center turn lane along 113 at some point in the future. The study recommended that we do our part to do that widening, which is what we proposed. There was energy from the neighbors that interfaced with an elected official at the state level, which then interfaced with PennDOT. And a new design came out from PennDOT, which included a center turn lane in both directions where our street interfaced or aligned with Meeting House. The alignment with Meeting House was the first point of contention. PennDOT put their foot down and said, you absolutely have to align with Meeting House. So that was the first step. Then this interaction happened and they insisted on a center turn lane in both directions. That came to a planning commission meeting. Everyone hated it. We hated it. The neighbors even hated it. Staff hated it. So between May and December, we orchestrated a meeting with PennDOT, about 12 to 14 stakeholders, including township representatives. And we said, please reconsider. This makes no sense. It's not recommended by the study. It's not recommended by the township. Neighbors hate it. We hate it. And PennDOT said, we agree. We went back to PennDOT. We filed. We now have a PennDOT permit. So we wanted to put that issue to bed. And PennDOT came back to the original design. So all that time was spent. We're back to the widening that's appropriate along our frontage. It does now extend beyond our frontage, 200 feet beyond Cheswick. Having 25 and then 25.2 feet from the center line. We do have the widening in place. We have a 4-foot grass strip. Well, let me check the notes. It's 25 and a half feet from the center line, 4 feet of grass, and then 5 feet of sidewalk. And the widening is in place now. We've done our part for that future event of widening. And it does extend 200 feet past Cheswick. So we are going beyond our frontage with those improvements. That's all great. We are here to talk about waivers, which I will hand out to you. Another thing that was a point of contention was the neighbors were upset about the fence. There's an existing fence that goes around the property line. You're welcome. Everyone's fence is a little bit different. There was sorry to throw them. I have to kind of bring these.
To go up and
We're trying to work.
Wonderful.
There
Thank you very
it is. Sorry.
I just need someone to tell me when to put what plan up. It would be because there's a lot of attachments. So if somebody can communicate that to me to help the discussion, that would be great. Thank you.
Thanks, Stephanie. So, as we work through the waivers, which I'll talk to you about next, I just want to point out that the fence along the perimeter is a hodgepodge of not so great fence. At the last meeting, we agreed to do a 2-rail post and rail along the entire perimeter as a give back to the neighbors to try to soften the blow. We have tried to work with the residents as best we can. There are some that are still not happy. I can't do anything about that. We've done the best we can in working with the frontage improvements, what we can do along the perimeter, which I'll show you, and in offering that fence, which we've committed to. So next, we'll talk about the waiver.
So where is that map in relationship to Cheswick?
Cheswick is right to the left.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
Meeting House is opposite the proposed access.
Excuse me, can I ask a general question? With the going through the 13 waivers, I'm here with a few other neighbors. When is it appropriate to ask for make comments or questions? Do we do it for each of the 13 waivers? Do you want us to hold comments to the end? We're just looking for protocol.
Yeah, I
Format.
think Ms. Pianzio is gonna go through each of the waivers that are shown in the letter, and if you have comments at that time, you can certainly bring them up.
Okay. Each of them.
So these waivers are recommended by your planning commission, all 13 of them. We went through them. We'll start with the first one, existing features. This is a common waiver. You've seen this all the time. We've provided the appropriate data to show the necessary information. Your township engineer, I believe, is satisfied that the appropriate information has been delivered and no one has an issue with this waiver.
Give enough information on the existing features. Any comments on that? From the audience?
Yes, hi, I'm Lori Yamashita, 470 Wexford Circle. When I've been to the board before, I introduced myself as my background is safety and environmental. I worked with Merck during land developments. I'm also a volunteer who does sports with people with disabilities and with biking and skiing specifically. I really appreciate all of the great Lower Salford amenities that we have, specifically bike trail. Just my general comment to this is I've been to every one of the planning commission meetings on this topic, or I've Zoomed. And one of the things I want to point out is, yes, it was 7 times that this project came to the planning commission. It was not to appease the neighbors. There was inaccurate information because it's either incomplete or inconsistent, which each of those submissions, the township engineer and the traffic engineer wrote feedback and direction. At one point in time, Manus McHugh, the head of the planning commission, asked, please don't come back until you have the PennDOT HOP highway occupancy permit in hand. They were told before the meeting, they came in. They've come in and not followed the simplest direction. For efficiency of review from a township and a traffic position, submit both permits or get the permit first, then come back and talk. They came back anyway, so little uncomfortable that failure to follow simple directions, which would make it more efficient for the township to make that review. And if you look at that, the waivers, in my opinion, you look at it, what are they asking for and why? They're trying to save time and money, or mostly there is not enough space. We're putting in 26 townhouses on a rocky slope. If you look at the print from the upper left to the lower right, this area is pristine. It has an 1800s farmhouse. There is a wetlands. There's a natural stream. Across of 113 is 6.65 acres of land that runs, the runoff goes onto this property. It goes to a swale on Meeting House Road, and it goes under 113. So if I remember the numbers correct, I think you're developing approximately or disturbing 5.9 acres of land with the 26 townhouses. Well, the rainwater, there's more rainwater from across 113 coming. I don't believe at this point that the developer has gotten permission from the DEP to reroute a natural stream. And one of the waivers, the language in one of the waivers I thought was interesting. The justification for grading slopes. the developer says this waiver is necessary to maximize the stormwater management basin size while incorporating several natural resource limitations. In parentheses, it says unsuitable soil condition, shallow bedrock, floodplain soils, wetlands. And at that point, this is August 2024, they had 7 waivers. They said they were, I think they were proposing, they told us they would keep the trees on Harleysville Pike. But I just thought it was unusual to state all these natural conditions and you're building 26 townhouses with basements on a rocky slope. The elevation difference from the upper left to the lower right, I think it's close to 40 feet. It's over 30 feet. So basically rainwater's running across from upper left to downhill. There's a natural stream. If we look at the lower right-hand corner, I believe that area where the stream is and the floodplain soils is the open space. I don't understand the full thing. Is that the part that's dedicated to the township? So the township kind of gets the wetlands and the natural streams. Just general comments there, but I guess if we look at the language within the existing conditions, I'm a little confused. I think you're asking for 50 feet, basically surveying instead of the 100 feet. And what I saw differently, Ms. Ponzio, are you now requesting to do an aerial image instead of surveying? And if you do aerial, can't you do 100 feet, or do you not want to look beyond the boundary?
To go beyond the property requires us to trespass on property that's not owned by the applicant. So we do aerial information. There's a lot of GIS information that's very modern that your code doesn't recognize. So it's very common. This is a waiver that I've seen on absolutely every application that I've been doing for 30 years. So it's not uncommon at all. The engineers are satisfied. The information is what's important and the information has been transferred.
May I add a little bit to that too?
Certainly.
May help. There is no requirement that all features be surveyed beyond the property line. It is just that they have to show the features, such as they have to show where the sanitary sewer lines are, where the water mains are, where maybe some storm sewer are. And we felt with the aerial photograph and information that has been provided that we have enough information to evaluate this plan.
Just
Very
a short comment after that. I know the surveyors have been on Cheswick residents' property without permission or notice to do the surveying on Route 113. So was that trespassing?
I'm not going to comment. We're here to talk about waivers and I'd like to keep the conversation to that. We've done this a lot at the planning commission meeting.
Very good.
Thank you.
Any questions from the board on the existing feature beyond the boundary being 50 feet and lower than 100 feet?
And this is just information that goes to the plan that outside the boundaries of the property. So if there's a tree next to the property, which is not on this property, they need to show it on the plan. And it says 100 feet, but a lot of times you can't do that. Like has been said, you can't really go in their property to show everything. You know, they may show an approximate location of a house, but it doesn't really change the property we're talking about, or you can't change that anyway. It's just to show it there on the plan. That's really all of the information.
And to satisfy those questions, they'll use an aerial photo as opposed to physically going on the ground.
Which is actually more accurate than you would think, except for maybe elevation might be off by a little bit. And generally you would tie that in with a survey. You know, it might say the elevation is 196 on their property, but it might be 195, and change that with the survey, but then tie it all in later. So really you just see a line, the property line right there towards Cheswick. They're only showing 50 feet onto that property as opposed to 100 feet, which would probably be closer to the Cheswick Drive there. So that's all, it's just to show the grade and stuff like that.
What is the distance there between Cheswick Drive and the line? Where
How
the
far is
arrow is
Cheswick?
from? 238 feet.
238 feet.
238.
There, it looks like over 50 feet there.
Is it?
Can I move to the next waiver?
Did you have a comment? Question?
Just, I saw the bearing and distance at the top of that, opposite road A. Can you just change it to a plan that has bearing and distance up there?
What did she say?
There is a bearing and distance right here, north 42, 45, 145.86.
So the distance from that, the length of that line is 145 feet. The length of the distance of the edge of the property to Cheswick Drive, you're saying is longer than that? Could you zoom out a little bit more?
Let's see, I don't have the scale.
Oh, no, you're good, you're good. I just wanted to be able to see private road A and Cheswick Drive. Yeah, so the line on the top is 145 feet. And the distance, you're saying the distance between Cheswick Drive and private road A is more than 145 feet or less?
Well, this line is only 145 feet between a point of intersection with this bearing here and out a certain distance till the next point of intersection. So if you
Sorry, do you have the record plan?
let me see, give me a second.
Do you want to map it?
It is center line of the Cheswick, center line to my meeting house is 238.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we answered it, Seth.
Okay, great. Thank you.
238 feet. Okay, the next waiver has to do with the width of our private roads. Your code requires a 50-foot wide right of way. We have private roads A and B. So we've asked for a waiver to have less than the 50-foot wide. With them being private streets, it's common for us to have less than the 50-foot wide right of way. We will be maintaining these by a private HOA. It's not for the township to maintain these, so it's common for this waiver to be granted.
And the fire company is okay with that, with in terms of getting their equipment in or out? I think I know the answer, but I just want to ask.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, they reviewed it.
Very good.
Um,
Any questions on that? Underway.
Thank you. Next, 3, the distance between our road A and Cheswick Street. Your code requires a spacing of 800 feet. The separation is 238.6 feet. Again, this is dictated by PennDOT. They were adamant that this alignment be across from Meeting House.
And you've received your highway occupancy permit, better known as HOP.
We have,
From the department.
yes.
Very good. Any questions?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
113 is a 45-mile-an-hour road. DOT specifies 800 feet between intersections. And we're now down to 236. It's 30%. Now, how does that impact? How does that impact things along 113? Well, the way I look at it, it's with regard to response time. At 45 miles an hour, 238.6 feet, right? You're at essentially getting 3.6 seconds versus what DOT requires about 12 seconds at 45 miles an hour. Now I'm along 113 and I know speeds are much greater than that. You know, there's a rush to get to 55 and beyond from the light Atlantis. My point is it safe?
Pennsylvania Department of Transportation issued a permit for that driveway location or that roadway location. So they wouldn't issue a permit if they did not deem it to be safe.
And the 800-foot requirement is a township requirement. It's PennDOT that has dictated that it's safe and that the distance is acceptable.
Isn't that also a federal, like an ASHTOS type standard as well as state?
I don't know. All I know is that PennDOT is in charge of 113, so any improvements or road opening to 113 is under the jurisdiction of PennDOT, and they've issued the permit.
Mr. Bergman, I understand that your background is in engineering and you do have significant experience in intersections. Would you consider taking a deeper look at these plans and coming to your own conclusion on whether this intersection is safe? And I would also like to request Ori to look into the crash history at these intersections to bring some data to the group to consider.
So part of the permitting review process of the location of that driveway would have been PennDOT's analysis of those various factors, along with speed of the roadway, the volume on the roadway. So I could look at it from now till doomsday. The result is going to be the same since the department has issued its permit.
My request is that you look at it between now and.
I have no objection with what they're putting forth, frankly, with the design that's here, coupled with the fact that the department has approved that location.
Understood.
Okay. Should we move to the next one?
I have a related comment. I understand the development has the HOT. There was a statement made in the planning commission meeting that I questioned, and I'm questioning it here. And I know, Mr. Bergman, I looked at your website, and I know you're a registered professional engineer in Pennsylvania. And if I counted right, maybe a total of 13 different states. Is that correct?
That's
okay. So ASHTO with the federal standard, we know there's numbers. My question is the 1,000-foot visibility from this new proposed road to Cheswick Drive. I think if you can expand that, does it say 1,000 feet? But if a car were leaving Cheswick, say making a left, big truck, they don't really have that much visibility, do they? If
I'm sorry.
I'm saying, available site distance 1,000 feet. Am I correct in understanding if a car came out of Cheswick, they're blocking the visibility from people for the new road? Like a big school bus full of kids coming out here, driver at Meeting House is gonna see that big truck or bus. Isn't that a concern?
No, it's not a concern because that's not the way it's analyzed, frankly. So there's clear unobstructed sight distance from road A or the new access, 1,000 feet to the left, which is measured from that point on the new roadway to the middle of the oncoming lane. So same is true for those departing Cheswick Drive. And because of the distance between the two, they're not going to interfere with one another's ability to see in either direction. That was reviewed. And Stephanie, I don't know if you want to weigh in on this, but that was, I'm sure, something that you looked at.
Permanent structures too.
Yeah,
It's not movable vehicle for permanent structure.
And the site distance is clear at 65 feet back, and where people are going to be looking is at the stop bar even closer, so the visibility is even greater.
And I would also add that just because a stop bar is at a certain location, that's not necessarily the point where your clear egressing site distance is measured from. There are requirements to measure from certain distances back from the edge of the travel lane. If you stop at a stop bar, you are required to move up to a certain location to make sure that you have that view and that clear sight distance. Just to speak to if a car was or a bus or something was at Cheswick and that was blocking that line of sight for Road A, the driver in Road A is obligated to wait until they have a clear line of sight, and vehicles are not considered an obstruction because they are movable objects. So the measurements are taken at a certain location per ASHTO, per PennDOT guidelines, and they have requirements for those distances, and they don't always line with where the stop bar location is, but a driver is obligated to move up to that position to make sure they have a clear line of sight, and that's how the measurements are determined.
I have one suggestion for consideration. Would it possibly, wouldn't it be more safe if we had the new development be a right turn only out and a right turn only in to perhaps make it easier?
PennDOT did not believe so.
Okay, just one request for later, if at the next planning commission meeting, Stephanie, can you tell us what engineering provisions there were to improve that? I know you weren't a fan, if I recall, of the left turn lane, but by widening 113 towards the new development, I think if someone's making a left into Meeting House, they're most likely gonna go at full speed down the shoulder in front of the development. And that's where we have a bike path and possibly a place for school kids to wait because school bus can't go there. So I guess I'm afraid there's just going to be more speeding down the shoulder, now in a different direction. Going the opposite way as people are making a left into Cheswick, people speed on the right side shoulder. That's my concern overall, is just the safety. I understand it's approved. I understand all the experts looked at it. Those of us who live in the area, we're concerned with that intersection.
So that's an existing condition, and that was one of the concerns with when those two center turn lanes were proposed, is that the shoulders disappeared and people didn't have that ability, which everyone needs on 113 to get around those waiting to make turns. So those shoulders will still exist. People do use them to go around people. That will continue. The other thing is school buses are not going to come into this development. They're going to pull along 113. Someone made a good recommendation at the last planning commission meeting about us maybe broadening our sidewalk area there for like a way station for kids who are waiting for the bus. And we are going to incorporate that in our plans. We thought that was a good idea, but they're not going to come in and out of this private street. So that was the next waiver. Obviously, we vetted that one. Do you have any issue with that? That was number 4. We can move to number 5.
Any questions about clear site plan? I guess just the one thing I have on section 3, the township, I understand the planning commission approved. Could I just hear a little bit more about, since the 800 feet is a township requirement, what was the reason, what was the reasoning and the rationale for going from 800 to 238?
PennDOT insisted that our interior street be aligned with Meeting House. And that landed it where it is in its proximity to Cheswick.
That was the fixed location. And I think one of the original designs showed it 800 feet away.
Yeah, we took it all the way down the other end because that's where the staff wanted it, everybody wanted it, and PennDOT said, no, pull it back. Yeah. Okay, so we did 4, we're on 5. So you have a code requirement that driveways be 150 feet from an intersection. Our interior road, Mike's gonna help me here, that interior road be our driveway. It's the townhouse driveways as they approach the stop sign getting out of their little cul-de-sac there. Those. So the code is that they be 150 feet from the stop sign. Because this is such a low volume intersection, the waiver is to permit that. Planning commission saw that, there's not much activity there, not much reason for concern. It is a slow movement and there's not a lot of volume coming down from the left in order to make that any safety concern. I think staff thought the same.
Stephanie, any comment on that one?
I do not have any concerns with the low volume and the location at this point.
And the private streets.
And the private streets.
Any comments, questions from the board?
Will there be any on-street parking in this development other than the ones on the entrance drive there? I mean, in the
One
side of road A.
One side of road A has parking.
right, but beside that, I can see those parking spots, but nothing else anywhere.
No. Okay, moving on to number 6. The basin slope. You have a 4-to-1 basin requirement, however, PennDOT's DEP's recommendations are inconsistent with that. So we are asking for a waiver so that we can comply with the recommendations from DEP and their ENS control manual.
which is
3-1,
3 months,
from 4-1 to 3-1.
the standard.
Yes,
For reference and background, I think future editions of our saldo may include a 3-to-1 allowance.
Your new stormwater ordinance will show 3-1.
Yeah, I think, because 3 to 1 is standard in the industry.
yeah, I see this all the
Allows
time.
grass to grow still.
A little outdated, a little antiquated.
Maybe next month.
Some townships just like keeping it in there, so we have to ask for it.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
I have a
okay.
comment, question on that one.
Certainly.
Can you, it sounded like you were stumbling over your words a little bit. Can you explain?
I wasn't
what-
stumbling.
Okay.
So the waiver is for a 3-to-1 basin slope instead of a 4-to-1 basin slope, and that is consistent with the state standard. The township standard has not been updated, but the township is updating their stormwater management ordinance to coincide with the state standards. It just hasn't done it yet. So
I'm
the
just
waiver is to be considered
I'm just trying to follow
consistent.
along with the numbers here.
That's number 6.
Okay.
If you have the updated waiver left.
Let's see. So. I might not have the updated one.
Would you like a copy?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Is it January 5th?
2026.
Do our adjacent townships have a 3-to-1?
Most of it, it's pretty much standard 3 to 1 slope, right on the state.
If they don't have it in their code, they always grant it.
It's missing on this sheet. Number 3, my sheet goes from number 3 to number 9.
Okay.
So, no, that's the page.
Oh,
So. I just want to clarify here, the retaining walls are vertical, and that is also part of the request here. It's not just a small change in slope. It's a slope to a vertical is the requested change there. Just wanted to clarify.
we move on?
I don't know, well, I don't understand.
I don't know.
If you read number 6, it says the applicant is requesting a waiver from this requirement to provide basin side slopes of 3-to-1 to vertical and to have retaining walls, which are vertical, within the stormwater management basin. So it's not just a change of slope from, this to this. It's a change of slope required is this to a change of slope that is.
No,
Yes.
it's horizontal to vertical, 4-to-1 to 3-to-1. Horizontal to vertical, 4-to-1, horizontal to vertical.
No, it's not going to make it vertical.
Are the retaining walls vertical or not?
Yeah.
Okay, the retaining walls are vertical, so.
It's the
The
slope
requirement-
that is changing.
Yeah.
Instead of it being like this, it's going to be like this. Okay. Next, the path. So we have a 25-foot wide path, walking path, as you can see from our cul-de-sac bowl. It goes along the back property line, like showing you there, along the back of those properties, all the way to the edge. We are also making a connection off-site to the township open space. You are getting open space from a neighboring property, and there is a path there. We are making that connection so that people can walk and make a connection to the township path on the other side. So that's 25 feet wide. Your code requires that the path within that 25-foot wide right of way be no closer than 5 feet to the edge. The neighbors wanted it as far away as possible, and we are also staying away from existing environmental features. So we are asking for a waiver so that we can get to the edge of the path, the 25-foot right of way, so that we can accomplish that.
Any issues, Michelle?
No, I agree that it was moved, it was not centered within the easement because of a request by the neighbors. To move it further away, and we have no objection, it's on, it will be on HOA owned property that they will have to maintain.
Any questions from the board?
Is there gonna be plantings between the property boundary and that?
Yes.
walkway?
Yes, yes. There are existing plantings and then we're filling in.
Very good.
Okay, Stephanie, we're gonna need the 2 slides that show the side along Cheswick where we're filling in and that cul-de-sac bulb where we're oh yeah, we can start there.
Okay, great.
The next section has to do with the replacement trees. We have packed this property in with as much as we can with the trees, but planning commission saw a couple areas where we could do a little better. And in getting the recommendation for this waiver on where we are short, they asked us to do a couple of things. So at the end of this cul-de-sac bulb, we had two shade trees, which are the 2 on the left. The neighbors came and said, we really want you to block the headlights for us a little better. Can you switch them out? So we did. We're going to do evergreens there, and we're adding 3 more to the right. So the 2 shade trees will become evergreen trees, and we're adding 3 new evergreens. So that's a total of 5. They also asked that we make them bigger than normal. We plant 8 to 10-foot evergreens there so that they are robust at the jump. So we've agreed to do that. So that was one thing we could
That's
do.
noted on the plans.
It will be noted on.
Yeah, it's a part of the-
That came out of the planning commission meeting.
It'll be in their minutes for sure, so I'm sure Andy will be
Yeah.
sure it's in the approval resolution.
We have copies of those, right?
Yep.
Those plans, okay.
Just getting back to the comment on number 6 about the
Yeah,
retaining walls within the stormwater basin.
Yeah.
Is that something we normally do?
Normally, it's not something you see, with every land development plan, but yes, you see it, sometimes it's necessary. We will require a structural engineer to certify that the retaining walls are designed properly.
I don't see where they are on that. And is that?
They were thank you, Stephanie, right there. Right where, thank you, right there.
Approximately how high will that be?
Hold on, let me go back to that other page. I'm going the wrong way. Hold on, I don't know these inside and out. So here's top of wall, bottom of wall, elevations.
4 to 5, about 5 feet.
And there'll be a fence at the top of that
Pedestrian
wall.
barrier.
Yeah.
between the
Yes,
trail.
Yes, with fence.
Okay.
Yes,
Good job.
okay. Okay, another place where they asked us to fill in some planting. Thank you, Stephanie. So these 2 little pockets that are in red. So you see all that planting we have in there? They asked us to fill that in as well, which we agreed to do.
Filled in with
What are we filling that in?
trees,
Trees and
bushes, shrubs, flowers.
combination of the landscape architect's gonna work on that.
Okay.
So that'll be,
We'll look, I'm sorry, we will look at it to make sure that all of the plants that they propose are viable and that they will survive for a period of 18 months after we certify it as complete.
Good answer.
Yeah, we want to make sure there's room for them to grow, but we want to make sure that it is accomplishing the goal. They want to screen it as best we can.
Is there consideration given to the plantings, like native,
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
avoid fertilizer?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, great.
That is the latest trend, native, yeah. Which is a shame because those green giants are not native, but they grow like crazy. They're
Yeah,
great.
I'm for the native.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah.
Oops.
Okay. Next is the location of street trees
I
because we,
think comments relative to that.
okay.
I do appreciate all the work that's gone into this. The developer is asking to plant only 80 trees where 666 trees are required. Is that the waiver we're talking about here?
That is the waiver.
The
The number will go down after we add some more plants, but it's about that.
So
Approximately, how much will it vary by? I mean, now it sounds like you're short 580 trees. And you're adding,
It'll be less after we add these additional plantings. We didn't count any of this stuff, but it'll be whatever we plant will come off of that number.
but you're currently, it's what, you're meeting less than 20% of the requirement?
Whatever that
15%?
math is.
So what I would like to point out here is that the variance requested is not the minimum modification necessary. They're adding plants vertically, which I really appreciate. But I do think you could do more. There is some space near the power line trail crossing there on either side of the easement. There's some space for trees. And also, there are some things that other townships do and other engineers do to meet the protect the public interest by preserving the benefits that large trees provide. That's the word. The variances are supposed to show how they're going to meet the goal of the ordinance. And there are other ways besides just planting more trees if they don't fit that you can try to meet that ordinance idea, even if you can't numerically get the trees in, right? So you could
Yeah, give an example.
Steph, can you put the landscape plan up?
I'm looking for it. It's hold on.
And some townships have, if you can't meet the number of trees.
I gotta go back to the front and figure out which page it is.
You can also allow shrubs to count, maybe like 4 or 6 shrubs to count as one tree, or even to count ground cover plantings to count towards the trees. And there are also sometimes townships do fee in lieu. So I'd like you guys to consider some other ways that you can meet the minimum requirement. So try to calculate, how much can you actually get towards the replacement trees, including all of the various landscape options. And then I'd like the township to consider how you can move this project forward while also continuing Lower Salford Township's commitment to protecting the environment. So I'm not against this, I'm just saying we can do more.
So we planted as much as we can on this property. There are existing features in the middle of the property that would require us to take trees down to plant trees. There's already existing vegetation there that is in sensitive areas. So where there were open spaces, we have planted. The planning commission did identify those pockets there that we just identified where we could do more, and we've agreed to do that. So we just don't have the space to have any. We do want some backyard space for these units, behind the townhouses, as you can see.
Well, usually this is a topic that's addressed and ironed out at the planning commission.
Yeah.
Those folks are pretty adept at, if there are locations where additional plantings can occur, they will certainly point those out. Typically, as a last resort, there is an avenue for a fee in lieu in the event that they can't accommodate those types of plantings or those number of plantings.
At what point does that come to the discussion?
Typically, in planning commission review, they'll put forth a recommendation.
Yeah, and I think
That's where a lot of this gets vetted out.
Yeah.
That's, as you are aware and have been to those meetings, 7 of them, I guess. That you see the topics that are covered. This has clearly been one of them. That's usually where it comes about.
the fence for the neighbors was a big give, and that was the last item at the last meeting, but I think satisfied the planning commission finally on all the waiver issues, so. And the improvements along the frontage, we actually went 200 feet beyond the property line, which we didn't expect PennDOT to do. We thought we would just end up going back to our frontage. But they actually added more than we expected. And with the fence, the planning commission was finally satisfied with recommending the waivers as is, based on those offerings.
Just 2 comments. One is, we typically get copies of the updated land development proposals 5 weeks before the meeting. This is the tree proposal that was talked about, the extra trees. It was not submitted at that time, so we didn't have a time to review it. Question specifically about maximizing trees. At the last meeting, was there some discussion about trees around the stormwater basin as well as some?
That's a waiver coming up.
Yeah, so there is an opportunity to put more trees in that I think you're asking for a waiver for.
We'll get to that.
Number 10.
Hang on.
Okay.
Yep.
To there.
Okay, well, street trees was the next one. We have conflicts with utilities for the street trees in front of the townhouses because they're close. So we are planting them. We're just not planting them in the front. We're scattering them throughout the neighborhood. You do see that we have some where we have them here. You can see them along the frontage of Road B, just not all of them in front of each townhouse unit because of utility conflicts. The roots of the trees would run into
Those
the
shade
utility.
trees or evergreen.
What are, they're shade trees, yeah. But we are planting them in the development, just not all in front of each townhouse.
So we're getting the number of street trees that would be required, maybe not along the street.
Correct.
So location.
Location, it's a waiver for location, not number, correct. Okay. Stephanie, can you go to Harleysville Pike frontage, the screen along Harleysville? So there are existing pretty mature evergreens along the frontage of this property, and we were all trying to keep them. We think that the improvements along the frontage, the widening is going to lead to their demise. Plus, we have to do sidewalk installation. So your code requirement is for a berm along the frontage and for ornamentals only. Our waiver is do you have the graphic that we submitted, Stephanie?
Let me find it.
The waiver is twofold. One, that we plant evergreens and ornamentals, because that'll have more of a robust screening along the frontage, and as opposed to just ornamentals. And there's drainage that comes off of 113 onto this property. So we're asking for breaks in the berm so that water can still come onto our property and enter our stormwater system as it does today. We don't want to block it and cause any flooding issues. So that's what you see here are the breaks. Mike, if you can with your pointer, show where the breaks are in the berm. Yeah, so you have one there and one over there. So that's the partial waiver. We are doing the berm just with those breaks so the water can come in. And we're asking to do ornamentals and evergreens.
And then where does the water go from there?
Into the center there, into a stormwater pipe, and then it enters our stormwater system. And we will manage it on our property. Planning Commission was satisfied with this. They thinks it meets the goal.
There are curbs along the road or no?
Is there curb?
Yes, it will be correct.
How's the water coming from 113?
How's the water getting through the curb?
So we have catch basins.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, didn't see that. Very good.
Okay. All right, now we're getting into the detention basin plantings. So you have two requirements along you have screen element along the detention basins. The section requires a screen element between the detention basin and the adjacent residential and office uses. This is on the far, right, there we go. Over there, that little jet out property portion of the property. Yeah, right there. We're asking for a partial waiver to use the property line buffer plantings to satisfy the screen requirements. It's basically, there's two planting requirements in the same area. So there's not enough room to plant both of them. So we're asking for a partial waiver to use the buffer plantings to satisfy the screen requirements. So there's just not the room. So we're using one, you can't plant two plants in the same spot. Any issues, or can I move on?
Any questions, comments? Nah. Okay.
Next, your code requires concrete curb. We want to use Belgian block. Private roads, people like it, looks nice, and it's easy to replace.
Any questions on that one? Comments?
Last but not least, the basin slope. Your requirement is a 2% slope in order to comply with the DEP stormwater manual. We're requesting a waiver to have a flat bottom basin for infiltration, so we can do best management practices.
Any issues with that, Michelle?
No, it is a DEP requirement that they have a certain volume of runoff to keep on their site, and the 0% slope on the bottom allows them to meet those DEP requirements.
Very good. Any questions? From the board? Questions for the audience?
Just a general comment when, again, with the 7 submissions, and I said incomplete, inaccurate, and discrepancies. And I guess when the developer was approaching the planning commission, I was surprised, many of us, that at the time they would be asking for both preliminary and final. And when I looked at some of the supporting documentation, one example was in August of 2024, looking for final, but they put in a 200+ page stormwater management, post-construction stormwater management report without an executive summary. So I thought that's unusual. You just say, hey, everything's okay, page 1. So as I paged through that, it was around page 200. And I brought this up at the planning commission meeting. I said, something's kind of fishy. For the method of analogy for proposed network, this statement was analogy yet to be performed for the 100-year storm. So it's the kind of stuff when reviewing hundreds, thousands of stuff, engineering submissions to the Merck plant site, you'll see something stands out like that. Like, why did they give me 200 pages when the analogy's not done for the 100-year storm? It made me curious, and I looked at, and are you on the spot?
Yes.
Yeah, you had signed and you came to the planning commission, and I saw the letters, and the website says Annenbach PE, and the letterhead Arna Engineering PE, Annenbach PE, but I didn't see that your name is on the Pennsylvania professional engineering registration. Is that a mistake?
No, it's not a mistake.
Okay, so you're not a registered professional engineer. You didn't sign your name, but I thought if you are one of 2 principals with Arna Engineering, 50% of the principal engineers are not registered in Pennsylvania. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
It's not a requirement, but yes, you're correct.
Okay, but I just thought, is there, if half of the group, I felt it was misleading. The website, Pete, yours states the states.
In fact, the stormwater report that was submitted was signed and sealed by Shara.
Everything seems signed and sealed by Shara.
Anot's partner, and he went through it, and then we thoroughly reviewed the stormwater report. And our comments, any comments that we have are listed in our review letter.
And then we also have NPDES permit issued by the DEP, so just.
And what permits do you not have approval for?
Chapter 105, we have not
The
submitted.
stream, okay.
Yes.
And
Chapter 105 was submitted.
I'm sorry, I misspoke. It was submitted back in September. They haven't received anything back
We
yet.
do have our MPDES permit.
Okay, I haven't received them.
We got 3 comments, but we just that.
Okay.
We have our MPDES permit and our PennDOT permit. Yeah, I've never been this so far ahead with permits without the township approval. But
We appreciate your time and attention.
thank you. Yes,
Addressing
and
the neighbors' concern.
thank you very much.
With that, the meeting today was to hear the waiver requests. We don't approve them today. They are part of the record plans that will be submitted, but forth to approve those at a later date. But this gives them a sense of the board and what our concerns are. Very good.
I do think the
I thank
board
you.
and
Corey, would you be willing to look up traffic data at the intersection and add that information for the supervisors to consider?
I can certainly do a question.
Okay, thank you.
Very good.
I just want to add, I do appreciate the board. I do not question. I think we've got a great planning commission. I've said this before. I trust the engineers. I'm learning the process. And as I go through, I appreciate the ability to voice and make comments and service.
Absolutely. It is indeed a process. Thanks for coming in this morning.
Thank you
Appreciate
very
your time and attention.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too. All right, moving right along, Mr. Kikowski.
Yeah, the one item on the manager's report this morning is the proclamation for May Grafton,
Some good news.
who has recently turned 107 years old.
And at this point, you can approve it. I know everyone had it written out and everybody signed it. But you can do a public proclamation and have it approved by the board and you can present it to our, I know that we're planning on doing the presentation this past weekend. But the storm kind of put kibosh on that, and so I think they're trying to plan something this week, I believe. So if someone, Mr. Chairman.
I'll put forth a motion, proclamation for May Grafton's 107th birthday, whereas May Grafton is turning 107 years old on January 18th, 2026. And whereas the Lower Stafford Township official family would like to express our sincere congratulations to her on her 107th birthday celebration. And the township's wish for her is a wonderful day filled with fond memories shared with her family and friends. And in the coming year, wish her good health and countless happy times. So with that, I proclaim.
I will second.
Moved in second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Nicely done. Happy birthday, Lynn.
Yeah.
And many more.
I have nothing further, Mr. Chairman, though I do ask for a brief executive session regarding a item of real estate.
Matter of real estate executive session with no intention to return. With that, we'll take a motion to adjourn.
Make the motion.
Second. Move the second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Thank you, everyone, for coming in.
Thanks, everybody. I hope I did okay moving around with those plans for you.